The rain hit like needles against the glass walls of the observation deck. Thick silver clouds moved slow and heavy across the twin moons of Calvaris, casting ghostly light on the alien ruins below. Private Jonas Hale stood alone, hands in his pockets, breath fogging the window. They'd told him to stay in the ship. They always told him to stay behind, but he didn't come all this way to obey quietly. Behind him, footsteps echoed in the silence, light, precise and almost predatory. The alien who entered was unlike the others he'd met. She wore a deep crimson cloak that trailed along the floor, and silver sigils shimmered across her dark, scale-patterned skin. Her name was Vyr'ha, a mercenary trained in the ancient disciplines of the kor'shelai warrior priests bound by sacred vows and rituals. And right now, she was glaring at him. "You shouldn't be here, human," she said, voice tight with restraint. "This part of the rite is private." Jonas turned slowly. His eyes met hers. She looked fierce, but there was something else in her gaze, a flicker of fear, or maybe shame. Her hands clutched the edges of her cloak like she was holding it together, not just against the cold, but against something deeper. "Then why bring me here?" he asked, his voice soft. "Because I needed a witness." She looked away, jaw clenched. "Just not during this part." He didn't understand, not really. But he could tell this mattered, and not just in a ceremonial way. It was personal. Her people had laws, ancient, rigid ones. No human was supposed to watch a kor'shelai warrior remove her ceremonial armor. The act symbolized vulnerability, surrender. It was sacred, but Jonas wasn't like other humans she had met. They had fought side by side on Arden 5. He had pulled her out of burning wreckage when others had run. He had stood between her and a plasma cannon when she thought no one would. And he hadn't asked for thanks. He never did. He just looked at people, alien or human, the same way, like they mattered, like they were worth saving. Vyr'ha stepped closer. The air between them grew heavier. "I told the high priestess you wouldn't look," she whispered. "If you do, the rite will be broken. I will be dishonored, and they will cast me out." Jonas nodded slowly. "Then I won't look." "You always say that," she replied, not unkindly. "But you're human. Your kind can't help yourselves." He turned his back to her and faced the window again. "Watch me." Outside, lightning forked through the sky, lighting up the ruins. Inside, silence thickened. Behind him, he could hear the slow, careful movement of armor being unclasped. Metal whispered against skin. Fabric rustled like dry leaves in the wind. Her breath hitched once, barely audible. The air smelled of rain and old stone, but there was something else to a subtle scent like wildflowers and ozone, foreign but not unpleasant. He felt a strange pressure behind his ribs, like the weight of a decision he didn't fully understand. Jonas closed his eyes. His thoughts drifted to Earth, his sister's laugh, the worn couch in his father's garage, the way the sun felt on his face in spring. All the things that made him who he was. All the things that taught him to respect what others held sacred, even if he didn't understand it. Behind him, Vyr'ha whispered something in her native tongue. It was a soft, trembling prayer. Then a long silence. Finally, she spoke in common. "Again, you really didn't peek." Jonas smiled faintly, still not turning. "You trusted me enough to ask. I just returned the trust." He heard her step closer. Her voice was softer now. "They said humans were greedy, curious, reckless. They never said you were kind." He didn't reply. He didn't have to. What neither of them knew yet, what neither of them could explain, was why the ancient sigils on her body, dormant for centuries, had started glowing the moment Jonas stepped into the room. Or why, according to legend, that only happened when a soulbound was near, and neither of them could guess how this single act of respect would ripple across the stars and the days to come. The corridor outside the ceremonial chamber was dim and quiet, lit only by the soft blue pulse of ancient Calvarian runes etched into the walls. Jonas sat alone on a cold bench, elbows on knees, fingers locked together. The air was colder now, though he couldn't tell if that was from the mountain winds or something else. He hadn't looked. He was sure of that, and yet, when Vyr'ha finally stepped out, she looked different. Her armor was gone. Now she wore a robe woven from dark strands of something that shimmered when the light touched it. It moved like smoke but held shape like steel. Across her arms and neck, the silver sigils on her skin, those strange etched markings, glowed faintly with shifting light. It was like they were alive. Vyr'ha paused in front of him, her expression unreadable. "What happened in there?" he asked, careful with his voice. She didn't answer right away. Her eyes searched his face, almost like she was seeing him for the first time, not just as a man, not just as a soldier, but as something else. Someone tied to her fate in a way she hadn't expected. "I thought the sigils were dead," she said quietly. "They haven't glowed since the old wars, not for anyone. Not even for our priests. And now they are?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "They woke the moment you turned away." Jonas frowned. "What does that mean?" Vyr'ha sat beside him, the bench creaking under her weight. Her voice was low, almost hesitant. "There's a story," she said. "A myth, really. The kor'shelai believed that one day, when the galaxy faced ruin again, the sigils would awaken not for one of our own, but for a stranger. Someone not of our blood. Someone with a heart pure enough to honor our sacred rites, even without understanding them." Jonas chuckled under his breath. "You think I'm some chosen one?" "No," she said. "I think you're just human, and that may be more powerful than we ever understood." A low chime echoed through the corridor. The ship's intercom flickered on. "Incoming transmission," the voice said. "All off-worlders report to briefing chamber Alpha. Urgent security protocol." Jonas stood slowly. "That sounds bad." "It always is," Vyr'ha muttered, rising beside him. As they walked down the corridor, side by side, her sigils glowed brighter with every step. Jonas couldn't help but glance at them now. They pulsed gently, like a heartbeat echoing through silver ink. They entered the chamber to find Commander Lysa Thornhuman, sharp-eyed and battle-scarred, standing at the center of a holographic display. Around her, images flickered of a distant world burning. Firestorms raged. Orbital stations shattered. Fleets fell silent. "This was sent from the Eberron system 2 hours ago," Thorn said. "A full planetary collapse. No warning. No survivors." "Who attacked?" Jonas asked. Thorn shook her head. "We don't know if it was an attack. The system just shut down. Like something ancient woke up and consumed everything." Vyr'ha stiffened beside him. "That matches the old texts. The ones about the voidmother." "The what now?" Thorn raised an eyebrow. Vyr'ha turned to face the room. "An entity spoken of in the oldest scrolls. Not a god, not a machine. Something worse. A force that sees light and life as infection. Something we sealed long ago. And you think this thing is back?" Jonas asked. "I think," Vyr'ha said slowly, "that whatever has returned will not be stopped by fleets or weapons." Jonas looked at her glowing sigils, then at the flickering runes on the hologram. A chill passed through him. "Then what will stop it?" Vyr'ha's eyes met his. "You?" she said. And suddenly the room was silent. No one laughed. No one doubted, because, for a moment, standing under cold light, beside an alien warrior whose people once called humans primitive, Jonas Hale looked like something more than just a soldier. He looked like a turning point. Asterisk. The shuttle drifted through the dark void, silent except for the soft hum of its stabilizers. Ahead lay the ruins of Tel Rev Shia, a floating temple carved into an asteroid belt, untouched for centuries. The kor'shelai once called it the Chamber of Echoes, a place forbidden even to their own unless summoned by the sigils. And now it was opening for a human. Jonas sat strapped into the passenger seat, eyes locked on the approaching structure. It wasn't like the smooth, efficient design of human stations. Tel Rev She looked ancient, almost grown instead of built. Dark, thorned spires curved like skeletal fingers around the asteroid's surface, and golden light pulsed from a massive rune that resembled a blooming eye. He didn't say anything, but his stomach felt tight. Not from fear, at least, not the kind he understood. Beside him, Vyr'ha watched him quietly. "You don't have to do this," she said. "Yes, I do." "Why?" He looked at her, then at the massive temple ahead. "Because I'm the only one who can, not because of some prophecy. Not because of glowing tattoos. Because no one else will step forward." She didn't argue. The shuttle landed in a smooth circle of stone surrounded by tall archways. The moment Jonas stepped out, the air changed. He felt it in his lungs, thinner, colder, but also charged, like breathing through lightning. Strange patterns lit up on the stone as he walked. The sigils on Vyr'ha's skin responded in kind, glowing brighter and steadier. Each step they took echoed far too loud in the vast silence. They entered the temple. The doors, untouched for centuries, groaned open as if recognizing his presence. Inside, vines of gold-threaded crystal grew along the walls, and orbs of hovering light drifted lazily above ancient altars. But it wasn't beautiful in a warm way. It felt alive, watching. "What is this place really?" Jonas asked. Vyr'ha walked a few paces ahead, scanning the runes on the wall. A test, or a warning, maybe both. The Chamber of Echoes was built to judge those who sought the truth, to see their heart, their fears, their pain. "Great," Jonas muttered. "Sounds like therapy with ghosts." As they reached the center of the temple, a circle of runes ignited beneath Jonas's feet. The air thickened. The stone trembled faintly, and a sound like distant whispers filled the chamber. Jonas turned to Vyr'ha, but she stepped back. "I can't follow," she said. "Only you." "Why?" "Because the chamber knows I already believe in you. But it doesn't care about belief. It needs to see for itself." The floor beneath Jonas shifted. The circle of light widened, and before he could speak again, the ground gave way. He fell, not through space, not through stone, but through memory. He hit the ground hard. But when he looked up, he wasn't in the temple anymore. He was on Earth. In the ruins of a burned-out village in Afghanistan. He knew the place. He'd been there. This was the mission where he'd lost his closest friend, Sergeant Lee. He could hear the gunfire, the cries, the smoke choking his lungs. But this wasn't memory. It was real. Too real. And then he saw her, Vyr'ha, but not the one he knew. She was a soldier, bleeding, crawling toward a crying child under fire. He remembered this. He hadn't thought. He just ran toward them both. Only this time, something was different. A figure stood in the fire, tall and faceless, eyes burning like twin stars. It watched Jonas with quiet malice. "You save," it whispered. "You burn for it." Jonas moved, fast. He reached Vyr'ha, grabbed the child, and pulled her close. The fire roared around him, and pain sliced through his side. Then the memory shattered. He was back in the temple, lying on the stone floor, heart pounding, sweat clinging to his skin. Vyr'ha knelt beside him, her face pale. "You were gone." "For minutes." "But your heart," she touched his chest. It stopped. Jonas sat up slowly, blinking through the spinning air. The sigils on his arms were glowing now. His arms. His skin, not tattoos. Not paint. Somehow, the temple had marked him. He looked down at his hands, then back at her. "I saw something," he said. "Something in the fire." "The chamber chose you," she whispered. "It showed you your greatest pain. And you still chose others over yourself." But Jonas wasn't listening anymore, because the whisper still echoed in his mind. "You burn." For a dot, what did it mean? Why had the chamber shown him that? And why did it feel like something had followed him back? The stars above the shuttle shimmered strangely as they left Tel Rev-Shi. Space should have felt calm, empty, and distant, but something was wrong. Jonas sat quietly, eyes fixed on the black beyond the window, and for the first time in years, he couldn't breathe steady. Something had come back with him. He didn't tell Vyr'ha right away. He wasn't even sure how. How do you explain a whisper that lives in your chest? A chill that moves beneath your skin, even when the room is warm? How do you say you feel watched from inside your own thoughts? Vyr'ha noticed, though. She watched him with narrow eyes as he sat across from her. Her warrior instinct had always been sharp. "What did the chamber really show you?" she asked. "A memory," he said quietly. "And something that wasn't supposed to be there." "Describe it." Jonas hesitated. "It had no face, just presence, like it was made of the space between things. It spoke, but not with words. More like it pushed meaning into me." Vyr'ha didn't answer for a long time. Then she slowly stood and activated the ship's internal scanners. Strange glyphs and biosignature charts filled the screen. Her fingers moved quickly. Then she stopped. "There's something inside your energy field," she said. "A shadow layered over your life force. Can it hurt me?" "No," she said, "but it might hurt others if it wakes." Jonas leaned back, hands clenched. "I didn't ask for this." Vyr'ha looked at him, then spoke with a calm that shook him more than panic. "None of us asked for what we carry." They docked with the orbiting fleet above Meridian Station, a central outpost where several alien and human species met to share intelligence. News of Ebron's destruction had spread fast. Rumors said entire solar flares had turned to black flame. Others claimed it was a biological event, spaceburn infection. None knew the truth. Jonas walked through the station like he didn't belong, even though everyone stared. Warriors stepped aside when he passed. Some bowed, others watched in silence. The glowing sigils on his arms could not be hidden. They pulsed now in rhythm with his heart, responding to thoughts he didn't speak. He met with Commander Thorne again in the main council hall, where several alien leaders had gathered. Her jaw clenched when she saw him. "Your blood scan came back irregular," she said. "You're not infected, but something changed you." Jonas stood still. "What happens now?" A tall alien with 6 mirrored eyes spoke from across the room. "The voidmother has marked you. That is clear. Your kind calls her myth, but she is very real. We sealed her once. We may not again. Then what do you expect me to do?" "Lead," the alien said, "or die trying." Vyr'ha stepped forward. "There may be a way to understand what's inside him. Not to fight it, but to use it." Everyone turned toward her. "He survived the chamber," she said. "His sigils burn brighter than mine." The old songs speak of a bonding rite, a communion between the marked and the awakened. If we complete it, Jonas may gain control. Or it may destroy him, another elder snapped. Vyr'ha looked at Jonas. "What do you choose?" His breath caught. He wanted to run, to hide, to go back to the quiet world before he was seen, before his every step meant something more than survival. But the memory of the child, of fire, of reaching out even in fear, lived inside him. "I choose to try," he said. In that moment, the lights in the room dimmed. Everyone looked up. Outside the station, space rippled. Not like waves, but like something enormous exhaled from behind the fabric of time. And a voice cold and slow entered every mind on the station, clear and final. He belongs to me. Alarm screamed. Lights turned red. Defenses surged online, but Jonas didn't flinch, because deep inside, the voice wasn't only outside him anymore. It was in him, and something inside answered. Not yet. The station fell into silence, the kind that came after screams. Shields held for now, engines powered down, weapons charged and ready. But the voice still echoed through the metal bones of Meridian Station, like it had infected the air itself. Every alien, every human, even the machines, they all felt it. He belongs to me. Jonas stood at the center of the command hall, eyes distant, breath shallow. The glowing sigils on his arms weren't just pulsing anymore. They were burning. Not painfully, but with a strange warmth, like light was trying to speak through him. Vyr'ha stepped forward, slowly, carefully, as if approaching a volcano. Communion must happen now, she said. Commander Thorne's voice was tight with control. Explain, quickly. If we delay, the voidmother will pull him inward, Vyr'ha said. He's marked, but unbound. She sees him as open ground. But if we seal him to the old sigils, if we awaken the bond, we can anchor him, maybe even turn the bond against her. How? Thorne asked. With a ritual older than my race, Vyr'ha said. It requires the one who trusts him most. Someone willing to share their spirit thread, even if it kills them. Jonas looked at her. Their eyes locked. You mean you? Vyr'ha didn't nod. She didn't have to. They moved quickly. Within minutes, the upper sanctum of the station was cleared and prepared. Alien tech and kor'shelai relics lined the walls. The chamber's floor was a ring of carved stone brought from Tel Rev-Shi. Centuries ago and never used until now. Jonas stood barefoot in the center, the sigils on his arms glowing bright enough to cast light on the walls. Vyr'ha stood opposite him. She had changed into her ceremonial robe again, her own sigils burning softly like moonlight. This is your last chance to back out, she said, voice quiet. He shook his head. Not after everything. She held out her hand. He took it, and the moment their palms touched, the stone beneath them lit up with ancient fire. A pillar of light rose around them. Jonas felt his knees weaken, but not from fear. It was like the universe had turned inward. Stars screamed. Oceans wept. Forests grew and burned and bloomed again, all inside his mind. And then, silence. They stood together in a void. Not space. Not dream. Something else. Vyr'ha looked at him. Here, her face shimmered like it was made of memory. This is the communion. Space, she said. Here the bond is not just symbolic. It is felt. If you are not true, it will tear you apart. And if I am, then you become something new. A shape formed behind her. Tall, black, shifting like smoke and water. The voidmother. She did not speak. But Jonas felt her. She moved closer, reaching out. Vyr'ha placed her hand on Jonas's chest. Her voice echoed across the void. I bind my soul to his. Not as master, not as servant, as equal. The sigils on Jonas's arms exploded in white light. The voidmother screamed, not in pain, but in fury. A storm of shadows rose around them. Memories twisted into blades. Doubts, failures, regrets, all sharpened into weapons. Jonas staggered, but Vyr'ha held him up. Don't fight it, she said. Show it who you really are. Jonas looked at the storm. And stepped into it. He let it wash over him. He let the guilt speak, the fear crawl through his bones. He let it all in. Then he stood. Unbowed. The storm faded. The voidmother shrank back. For the first time, she recoiled. Jonas turned to her. You don't own me, he said. You never did. Vyr'ha smiled faintly. The communion was complete. They woke together, gasping. Back in the chamber. The sigils on Jonas's body had changed. No longer silver. Now they glowed like firelight warm. Defiant. The command hall erupted in questions, but Jonas said nothing. He turned to Vyr'ha. She looked exhausted, but alive, and she whispered, "It worked." Then alarm screamed again. A fleet was arriving, not human. Not known. And the Void Mother was no longer hiding. She was coming. The stars outside Meridian Station were vanishing one by one, swallowed by a thick black wave that blocked light and sound. Ships shaped like bone and smoke drifted into view, surrounding the station with terrifying grace. There were no signals, no warnings, no demands. Only silence, but everyone knew what it meant. The Void Mother had come. Jonas stood at the edge of the observation deck, Vyr'ha beside him. The new sigils on his skin burned like sunlight in the dark, pulsing in rhythm with the incoming enemy. They weren't just a mark anymore. They were a shield, a voice, a challenge. "Those aren't ships," Vyr'ha said softly. "They're pieces of her, vessels made from what she's consumed." "What happens if we fire?" Jonas asked. "They'll absorb it." Commander Thorne's voice crackled through the intercom. "Defensive systems armed." "But Jonas, if you've got anything else, now's the time to surprise me." Jonas didn't reply. His mind was somewhere else. In the communion he had seen a place, an ancient cradle, floating deep within a storm of void space. He didn't understand it then, but now it returned like a memory that wasn't his. He turned to Vyr'ha. "The heart of her power isn't out there," he said. "It's behind the veil. You saw it?" He nodded. "I think she's waiting for me to come to her." "A trap?" "Yes, and also a test." Within minutes, they had a plan. Risky, impossible, necessary. Jonas would take a single transport ship into the Void Mother's domain alone, except for Vyr'ha. The communion had tethered their spirits. If he crossed into the deep void without her, the bond would break, and whatever strength it gave him would vanish. "We're going with minimal tech," Jonas said. "Nothing for her to absorb. Just instinct, and trust." The council protested, of course, loudly, angrily, but they had no better idea. As Jonas and Vyr'ha launched from Meridian Station, the surrounding enemy fleet didn't attack. They simply moved aside, like they were holding their breath, like they were waiting. Inside the cockpit, everything went quiet. No sound, no movement. Then the stars disappeared. The ship crossed into the deep void. And all light died. Jonas blinked, but saw nothing. Not black, not dark, nothing. The kind of nothing that pressed against the soul and made the heart forget how to beat. "Are you still with me?" he whispered. "Always," Vyr'ha said beside him. Then something cracked open. They were no longer inside the ship. They stood on a field of glass, endless and curved like the inside of an eye. Above them, a giant shape hovered, stretching into eternity. It wasn't a creature. It wasn't even a form. It was presence, the Void Mother herself, and she spoke with a voice like the breaking of time. "You deny your place. You reject the silence." "Why?" Jonas stepped forward. The sigils on his arms flared like suns. "Because silence kills everything. And I was born to speak. You are small, fleeting. Why fight?" "Because we don't measure our strength in size," he said. "We measure it in what we protect." The Void Mother's shadow surged. Tendrils of black storm reached down to crush. Him Vyr'ha tried to shield. Him, but Jonas raised his hand. The tendril struck his palm and burned. The fire of the sigils, born from honor, from trust, from sacrifice, roared through the field of glass. Shadows cracked. Screams echoed from 100 stolen voices. And Jonas walked forward. The ground trembled. "You took everything from so many," he said, "but not this. Not me, not her." Vyr'ha stood beside him, her hand in his. Together, the communion flared once more. Their bond became a flame against the nothing, And somewhere, deep within the voidmother, she hesitated, why do you not fear me? Jonas stepped closer. Because fear is what you need, he whispered, and I am not yours. The light from his sigils exploded. Cracks spread across the void like lightning in ink. The silence screamed, and everything began to fall apart. The voidmother screamed not with sound, but with collapse. The glass beneath Jonas and Vyr'ha shattered into a storm of light and dust, sending them spinning into endless space. But they didn't fall, they rose, held together by the bond. Between them, they floated in the heart of the dying void. Tendrils of black storm coiled around them, desperate to crush, to silence, to claim. But the fire of the sigils burned brighter. They weren't just light now, they were memory. They held every moment of kindness, of sacrifice, of grief, of choice. They told the truth of what made humanity dangerous to the darkness. Not power, but heart. Vyr'ha looked at Jonas, her face glowing from the reflection of the flame between them. She's weakening, she said, but it won't be enough. Then we go deeper, Jonas replied. He closed his eyes and let go. His thoughts stretched out, past time, past identity. He reached into the raw memory of the universe. He saw stars being born. He saw the first cries of newborn planets. And he saw her, the voidmother, before she became what she was. Alone, cast out, forgotten, double quotes, you weren't always this. He whispered, you were hurt. She hesitated. 1,000 shadow forms shivered around him. I was betrayed. I was erased. They called my silence a curse. They feared it. We don't fear silence, he said. We learn from it. We grow in it. But we don't let it take everything from us. He reached out with his hand. Not to fight, but to connect. Vyr'ha watched. Breath caught in her throat. Jonas placed his hand on the swirling heart of the voidmother. For a moment, everything stopped. Stars froze. Time held its breath, and the voidmother remembered what it meant to be seen. The screaming stopped. The shadows began to fade, dissolving into the light that poured from Jonas's body, not destroying her. Transforming her, she became smaller, quieter, not gone. But no longer a god of nothingness. A shape stood in her place, a woman of starlight and ash, eyes wide like a child waking from a long nightmare. Then, with a soft sigh, she vanished. The field of glass returned. The stars blinked back into the sky. The void was gone. Jonas fell to his knees, exhausted. Vyr'ha caught him before he hit the ground. You did it, she whispered. No, he said. We did. A soft golden wind began to circle around them. The communion flame lifted from their bodies, rising into the air like a signal to the stars. The shuttle returned for them. When they emerged from the void, the fleet around Meridian Station had gone still. And then they vanished, not in retreat. In peace. Days passed. Then weeks. The council declared the end of the voidmother threat, but they didn't understand what had really happened. Only Jonas and Fastian. Vyr'ha knew. The voidmother hadn't been killed. She had been forgiven. And somewhere in the far reaches of the galaxy, she drifted quietly, now silent still, but no longer seeking to destroy. Jonas stood once more on the observation deck. This time, he wasn't alone. Vyr'ha stood beside him, no armor, no blade. Just herself. She turned to him. You know, according to kor'shelai tradition, once a communion bond is complete, it's forever. He raised an eyebrow. Forever's a long time. She smiled faintly. So is trust. Jonas looked out. At the stars, the same stars he once thought were cold and distant. Now, they felt different. Now, they felt alive. Because somewhere out there, a silent god had been changed by a single choice, and a human had proven that even in the heart of darkness, kindness still burns.